Hello and welcome to another episode of The Card Show. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone's had a good week. In Manchester, we've now just like hitting the rain. Had a nice summer because that is probably up the northwest. It's been needed. Wanted a bit of sun, but yeah, the rain is here. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of been a bit refreshing. It's been nice. It was very spritzy rain today. It was nice. I'm sure the green parks and the gardens have needed it, so it's been nice. A lot of nice is there. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about how Fanatics Fest International doesn't sort of mean it's the crescendo or the end of sort of card shows like season. It's more of a continual hype, a continual build up, because a progression. And the reason I say that is because let's just jump straight into it. If you look at the calendar now, especially in the UK, there is so many card shows now. You've got to think about all this content that's going to come out around Fanatics Fest, around the National, and even SoCo. The soccer expo that happens in the evening in the National. There's going to be so much content now from English Europeans that people have that FOMO of missing out, so they go to the next local shows. I think looking at the kind of even for the back end of August when you have London Card Show, obviously in Manchester we've got the Manchester Card Con, and I've got a little something on that as well later on, talking about their home shirt drop, which is kind of cool. But let's not digress just yet. When you think about how much content is going to come out, I think it's just going to have such a massive effect. I think people need to think and remember this, like, even though the expense of going to Fanatics Fest in New York or going to the National in Chicago, and even obviously the time away from family, work, etc. If you've gone solo dolo, that even with that into account, it doesn't mean it's like the end of card show season. That they spent all the money going there, and that's it. They won't come to London Card Show in future time. They won't come to Manchester. They won't come to Scotland in X months because they've just sort of done it. They're doing these. People are going to these shows and then getting inventory for the next shows as well. The people are spending this money to go see shows. They're doing it as a business. So they are going to be a lot more shows. They're getting the content out there with building hype. People that don't go and missed out. Now it also gives them an opportunity to get cards that they probably wouldn't have seen or got hold of if they didn't know that this person went to Fanatics Fest or the National. So they're bringing those cards back over and giving you guys the opportunity to get them. I think it just leads to a really good sort of summer vibe. We already know how summer card shows, especially I'll say London in the past, has just been such a vibe. Everyone has that such, the sun, the alcohol afterwards is flowing. I'll say then you have a trade night. It's obviously a long weekend from the Friday to the Sunday. We've had it in Manchester at a few shows up here, over in Northwest or Manchester CardCon, where the sun is out and it's only one day or so. All of a sudden you go, do you want to get some food afterwards, get some drinks, and then you sort of carry on yourself with your friends that you've met at the card shows. And I just think it's just a really good sort of atmosphere to be in. So maybe like myself, you're sat at home and not you didn't go to Fanatics Fest, you're not going to National, but just remember this is this has a massive knock-on effect in a positive way for the UK card scene. And I think I said people don't go, have that buzz, don't they? They've seen the content, they want to catch up with the people that part of the content, whether that is that card Joe, JJJ, the recliner, from the recliner, he's obviously just done Fanatics Fest. The Real Harry's World is also doing both. You get the opportunity to see these guys talk to them about their experience. Talk about how the favorite pickups, the deals they did. Would they recommend it? So it's really nice again to have a conversational piece to talk to these people about. Again, it always helps for the card show vibe. I know people talk about the card show as being about the cards, and we've had it in the past where certain card shows have been heavily CCG, and everyone got about that. But you've got to remember the social side of it as well, and it's something I talk about a lot on this on this podcast. We talked about a lot on obviously the card investor stuff, because also that's going to weigh down more onto the financials, right? Whether I was going to do something with this like Fanatics Fest National, like the money it would cost, like show you a total of like my flights, accommodation, tickets to the show, roughly for food or what I'd eat for and then same again for Fanatics Fest, national, sorry, for the flights, accommodation, food, travel, and then sort of money around. And I think it was close to like 10,000. So I'm thinking, could I do something where instead of spending 10,000, just go into the national and Fanatics Fest, flights, travel, accommodation, the two, food, anything else like that. Just spend that money on eBay and show you what I actually get for that money. Like, think about that investment, what you could do with even half that, but think what you could do with £5,000. Just spend that on cards. So not your travel, not accommodation, not tickets to these shows. So yeah, it's very interesting to do. I didn't do it. I should have done it. But yeah, I like the idea. Maybe next year, or maybe later on. Maybe I'll do it next month. Maybe I'd like, hey, this is what it would have been to go there. This is, what I could have done in the meantime, and look at cards that are sold prior and stuff like that. But it's nice. Hopefully, get some people on the podcast as well, and we can talk about their experience, how much they spent, and sort of do it that way as well. Hopefully, get from the recliner on. It'd be interesting to talk to and hear his story. But yeah, compare, like I said, prices and that money. And again, that is purely from the investment point of view, right? From the investment point of view, is that money of flights, travel, accommodation, etc., compared to just buying it on the cards that you're looking to make profit on. When you weigh up, like, let's just say Fanatics Fest is the first one, just flying to New York, think about what you're going to be there for. Well, only this time, obviously only this 1 year, but for this year, Fanatics Fest New York, they obviously had the whole rigmarole with Fanatics Fest, but also the World Cup vibe. So you've got all that going on. I know there's obviously no other sports like were going off at the time in New York. So it wasn't like you could have gone and watched American football and basketball and stuff like that. But still, to be in New York, you make a holiday out of it as well. And again, the social aspects of it, and also the connections, the networking out of it as well. And it's then sort of like, can you put a price on them sort of experiences? So, that has a very big place in it, especially when it comes to sort of socializing and being with people that you're connected with prior, whether that be through Instagram or at card shows as well. But I think it's a very interesting topic on the whole. Where should pounds be spent, or dollars or euros, depending where you're from. But yeah, I do find it very interesting. Obviously, for myself, I've chose not to, and I put the money elsewhere. And I'm not gonna lie, not all of it is going. The money that I, quote unquote, would have spent to go to the national, or we've gone Fanatics Fest potentially. With it being New York, I love New York. That I didn't spend it all on cards. I bought a few. And hopefully, I know I said this new signs. I hope we'll start getting some posts up. I've got a post to put up, a reel to put up on last few Card Ninja cards, because I've been slacking with them. And then I got some posts to put up of my collection. Hopefully start doing that, which is really good. And then hopefully, because I've got a good catalog, I can start focusing a little bit more on the elite card investor. So touch wood. But no, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that the Fanatics Fest and National Pacific being so close together this year, and obviously Fanatics Fest being first, do you think that has sort of, I'll say step but sort of killed the card shows in the UK? Because they've said, like, the influx of them going over there, and Willie had the time, money, effort, energy to come back and do London a couple of weeks later. Oh, is it a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, or maybe? And then Manchester 2 weeks after that. Like, are they going to be in that sort of space, or do they want a bit of a breather? They're not going to want to do this sort of stuff, or do you think I'm right? I think that this is just the start of a bigger. It's like a snowball; it just gets bigger and bigger. It just keeps going and going and going. But yeah, I'm intrigued to know your thoughts. And then, well, on the card show thing, Manchester CardCon, as of recording this on the Sunday evening, I've put a post out. The home shirt drop. This got me excited. I'm not gonna lie. This summer, I've been very much loving, again, World Cup vibes. I think this is the first World Cup in a long time I've been really involved in. I also did the sticker book for my son. Also, you got the World Cup football, World Cup mini football, World Cup. Also, you get World Cup something else. God knows, a lot of World Cup stuff. So then I kind of made a big deal out of it. It did have a few of the kits as well, to be fair. Um, but yeah, I've been really loving like football shirts, even to that, even my American football shirts, and like jorts, the jorts, and shorts. So it's been really cool. So to have even picked up a few new pair of trainers, which I've sort of, I don't say begrudged doing, but at one point I'd have a massive collection of trainers and sort of whittled it down quite a bit. And then I've got it back up again, which is not good. Um, yeah, so I've bought a few new pairs recently just to sort of, I still need to buy another pair or two. I think I'm going to go for the Adidas Euphoria Hyper Boost. That'll be my next pair. It needs like a white, lighter pair. Things get a lot of darks, like browns. There is some no two ways on it. See what I mean? It just adds up. But yeah, I managed to pick up a few little bargains, so I wasn't too worried. And like they just beaters I wear all the time. Lightweight, the Ava X's, Nike Ava X's, and it's React midsole, very soft, very lightweight. They're just doing just to slip on and go out, kick a ball around my son, sort of thing. So yeah, I've been enjoying that sort of vibe, and also been out playing football a lot more with my son, which obviously as a grown man I've been doing before him. Wasn't just going out at the age of 37 onto the streets kicking a football around. Yeah, so I've been enjoying that. So hearing this, there's going to be a home shirt drop for my my home shows. And obviously someone that's a good friend and a friend of the channels as well. I've been on a few times. I put a post out, and it's also Manchester Cardigan home shirt drop, fire emoji. We're proud to unveil the Manchester Cardigan home shirt created by Nike in collaboration with Kit Locker. Crafted with style and made in money. Made in money. Wear it with pride. Rep Manchester Cardigan, whether you're at our next show, another card show, in the stands, or when you're having a kickabout with mates. For the hobby, made in money. Perfect statement and sentiment. I couldn't put that any better myself. I've noticed that with a lot of stuff. Again, we've had Ben on a few times. That everything that Ben does, I think he has the hobby and the hobby interest at heart. I know people going, oh well, he was a breaker, and can breakers really have the hobby at the heart? Like he wasn't out there fleecing everyone's a breaker. He wasn't out there doing that sort of thing, as doing dodgy off camera stuff or this, that, the other. So relax yourself. He always puts on a great show for the community. I think he's always done what he's thought was best for the hobby. So yeah, it's great to see the sort of sports shirt. I was surprised. I don't know. I thought it might have been a baseball jersey. Ben Griffey Jr. But a football shirt. I'd definitely rep that. I think it's right on sort of like on trend, as they say. The World Cup happening. It is black. I don't know if that matters to anyone. I will get a. So if you heard it, then we'll get a picture of it again. Oh, turn that volume down. But yeah, it's trying to describe it. What's on my back of my? Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's easy, to say, oh, it's black, and that's it. There's the details in it, right? So there's sort of like a grey, kind of like grey, like sleeves with black lines, kind of zebra-y, I suppose, but obviously a grey and black, not black and grey. But the Manchester Cardigan over the chest for the hobby, made in money is the badge. It's like textured, wavy lines. It's just one of those shirts that's just easy to put on. It's not overly out there. Simple shirt, monochrome. I've been intrigued to see what the sleeves are like. It looks kind of grey, but maybe not. Maybe just a lighter black. If that makes sense. I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. you have to on the story. There's a question about your size. You put your size in, you get a little message saying, "Hey, if you're interested, this is the price. They are £40." And yeah, there's a link to the website. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in one of those shirts. I never heard of the Kit Locker either, so 'cause I don't think he tags them, so I don't know if he's got an Instagram. What the sort of thing they do, but it's Kit Locker. Creative custom kits that stand out. Oh, okay. You wear printing, embroidery, and more. Ah, I see now. Never knew. Nike kit build icon jersey. Mm. All right now. I've thought about these sort of things for like elite card investor. We've got some stuff. I thought it'd be cool to have like a football jersey, a soccer jersey, basketball jersey, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to ripping out merch. I still need a third down one as well. To be fair, I do wear a bit of green, so make it look nice. Make it look nice. Well, next, I want to talk as well a little bit about um sort of the grading at the moment. Obviously, we have the issue with PSA. I think they've got the backlog down now to I think it was sort of like 7 mil, something like that, which is still ridiculous. Um, because they are still accepting cars. It's just also in a higher tier, so they are slowly getting this backlog down, but again slowly. Um, I know there's been people saying, do you hold the cars? Do you pay the extra to get them graded? I think obviously that's going to be very card dependent, right? I personally would say a lot of them will not be worth it, so don't do that. I think SGC are down to like 3 months. If I agree with them, there's obviously CGC. There's obviously in the UK we've got MGC, Ace, AGS that I've obviously talked about before. I think a lot of it's going to be card dependent. What the card's for. If you are looking for that maximum resale, we all know about being first in the market. I mean, if you have a big card, whether it's a Cooper Flag at the moment that you're looking at, obviously his rookies are coming out. Then obviously it's if it's a low numbered card, then you don't mind waiting. But if you've just got a card that you need to get sort of rid of quicker, then PSA is probably not going to be the one to go to the moment. There's a lot of data out there and outliers to say that sending these other places, yes, you will get a little bit less, but you got to think about the timing. So it's about when you want this cash back. If you're sending it on, or if you're waiting to send it on a lower tier of PSA, you're going to be waiting until potentially next year now. I think when they open and then what the turnaround time is going to be like. So yeah, I'd be surprised if there's going to be anything coming back this year, or if it is, it's very, very end of the year. Yeah, I doubt that too fair. So yeah, I think you do have to look elsewhere at the moment at other grading companies. I think it's gonna be interesting to see what the market does, and what happens these next 6 months. Do we see other grading companies? I don't want to say like take an edge, but did he take that step up because the amount of cards that will be submitted to PSA will naturally be lower because of that lower price point. But will people hold them cards, or will they just try and sell more raw cards, or will they actually grade them elsewhere? I personally, even for selling, I think even if you do send it to another grader, and you can say, "Oh, well, it doesn't get as much," I think it just gives the buyer so much confidence knowing it is, a 10 or a 9.5 or maybe a high grade. Because if I buy a raw card, I'm eyeballing it, and you might have it in a mag, and you might not feel, you might ask, you might not feel comfortable to ask. Take it out and have a look, inspect it properly. And even then, you don't always see everything, do you? You're sort of at a car show on a spot, or if it's an eBay listing, it's even worse. You can't get the full details. So if you can send that off and come back, at least then as a buyer, you've got a bit of confidence saying, hey, this has been sent to XYZ, SGC, or whoever it may be, and it's come back at 9.5. I know that when PSA opens in 6 months' time and I'll send this off, this should come back a good a 9 or a 10, and I should be okay with money wise. There is obviously the alternative of going to ADS, and if that comes back at 10, you'd like to think that a card that's got these, AI scanners and graded that way should come back with a human error of a good grade as well. Although we have seen cards that AGS have done. I think PSA, I think is it a 6 they did? I think PSA were good at 6 and AGS like a 10. It's very interesting to see what happened there. You know, was this human having a day, or did this AI miss out on something? Or another thing to think about as well is, was there like a thumbprint on it? It comes out of the PSA slab, gets a quick wipe over. AI says it's perfect. So there's other things to think about. But I think looking at other grading companies, see what works for yourself. I wouldn't have too much of a fear. I mean, I know people say, "Oh well, what's the point of me sending it to MGC and having what two or 3 week turnaround wait for it just for me to then sell it to someone at a lower price because they didn't want to pay a big price for it." I think you also, depending on how rare the car is, have a responsibility to say, "Hey, I know this is not a PSA 10, but we know this is 10 graded by professionals, and this should be a PSA 10, PSA 9. That's the sort of ballpark." It's just use that slab then as a bit more of a confidence instead of just buying a raw and coming back at 7. Like you don't know what it's going to be. At least you have a bit more confidence. This should be a higher graded card. On the flip side, so if you send it to these companies and it comes back at 7, it's on you then to sell that card either as the 7 and just take the loss, or crack it and just be honest. Just say, "Hey, I've graded it with XYZ company. It came back a 7." And then it's up to you to say, "I don't believe it was 7, so cracked it. I was going to submit it, but I want to." Or you do like, "Listen, I don't think it was a 7. I cracked it." You have a look over it and see what you think and see what you're comfortable at. But just accept that you probably have to take a less for it, and just be honest. What you don't want to do is send it as a 7, crack it, and then tell people, "Oh yeah, Matt graded 10." It would ruin your reputation, especially if it's a numbered card and it comes up on a pop report. Someone sees it, then I don't know. You just wouldn't want to risk a reputation you could spend time building on the sake of one card. It was just a 7. It just wouldn't make any sense. So always be honest, be truthful. It will pay you back in tenfold. Trust me. I've worked with numerous buyers, sellers that have always been honest, and not continue to. And it's the same. There's obviously people that will be honest, but sort of bend the truth a little bit. They'll move a goalpost, and you sort of have to accept that a little bit. Not saying it's right, but they're trying to maximize their profit, and so they'll just say, "There's maybe been no sales this card, and I've gone off comp to this one," and maybe it's just because that's how they comp things, but also at the same time, maybe they have sort of gone, "Well, I see these two are similar, so I've gone off his prices," and even though they play similar, doesn't mean they've got a similar fan base and similar like want for their cards. So it's very difficult. And again, it's not them lying; it's just what they're basing it off, and they're not being dishonest. And it's not saying avoid these people. It's just saying you also, you trust them and build that relationship with people, to still do, maybe do your due diligence and sort of do your work, because at the end of the day, it's your business as well. Never feel pressured to sort of part with cash, I always say. Well, that's it for this episode. Hopefully, when this Fanatics Fest National weekend is over, I know it's kind of hectic, people, but there is a few guests lined up, which I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, I know Ben's too busy with what's going on. We'll get Rainy on again, because obviously we need to talk about Beyond the Binder. We need to talk about obviously this new jersey launch as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And obviously the upcoming Manchester Comic-Con. But yeah, until next time, guys, you guys are the real MVP. I'm going to apologize for being pretty much 8 months in now, so end of 7 months into this year, and me very much being behind what I was saying at the beginning of the year. Obviously, Elite Card Investor is not where I want to be. And even with my posts, I got a lot of stuff catalogued up. I felt like I was consistent during the World Cup. I like to keep that going, do something similar going into the basketball season, NFL season, stuff that I'm interested in. Maybe mixing some car stuff in there as well. But I like the whole like, hey, this is some predictions, let me know your thoughts, and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully I'll be more consistent as time goes on. Yeah, I'm trying to get 1% better each day, right? Perfection. Progress, not perfection, as they say. But appreciate you guys as always. Take care, and I will see you guys soon.